show. So could you introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, sure, Eric. My name is Heather Urry. I'm a professor of psychology at Tufts University, and I run the Emotion, Brain, and Behavior Lab there.
And where did you do your PhD?
Ph.D. at the University of Arizona, which is in Tucson, Arizona, in 2001.
Right. So describe your sense of fashion. Is it eclectic, classic, trendy, or random?
Random, for sure, completely random.
All right. What's something that you're working on right now that you're excited about?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm working on lots of things, but one of the things that I'm excited about is some work that we did. So in general, my lab has been thinking a lot about the role of emotion regulation in assisting people to perform under stress. And we're on the final stages of submitting a paper that looked at two ultra-brief interventions that we thought might help and assist performance under stress. And it was about mindfulness and cognitive reappraisal in that context. So I'm pretty excited about that and looking forward to continuing that line of research.
Tell us about one of your favorite conference experiences.
I've had so many. It's hard to pick. Actually, maybe I'm primed to think about this, Eric, because of who you are and conferences that we've both gone to together. For many years, I attended all the time the Society for Psychophysiological Research. And one of my favorite experiences always, and this is an experience I had at many conferences, is to share a room with some of my best friends from SPR. Corinne Van Riekum and Christine Larson are the two people who come to mind. We have had a lot of fun at conferences together.
So what's a downside of your job?
Downside of my job? Well, I work more than I would like. I sometimes have to work on weekends because I am hopelessly conscientious, I guess, and try to get everything done. So that's a downside of my job. But I'm going to anticipate that you'll ask also about the upsides. And one of the upsides is that I get to study what I want to study, and I am the boss of my time, and I get to allocate it how I see fit. And I get to work with people who are just entering the field and help them think through how to do science, and I love that.
Tell us about one of your proudest achievements.
I have to say getting tenure. I think that came to mind maybe because I was just talking about my job, so I'm probably primed to think about that. But, being a professor involves a long process of establishing a reputation that is at least national in nature and ideally international. And so I felt very proud having gotten to the point where, Tufts decided they wanted to keep me here essentially forever after reading letters from colleagues in different places. And I still feel good about that.
If you were finishing high school today, would you pick the same path that led you to where you are now? If not, what alternate path would you take?
Well, yeah, I think I would probably be on the same path, although, I think I'd be on the same path. I really do love psychology, but I also have grown to really appreciate and love sort of the quantitative side of things, and might, if I had the opportunity to go and do it all over again, I might also look for experiences that would complement psychology. For example, taking coursework in computer science and learning how to code much earlier than I learned how to code, and maybe taking more advanced statistics when I got farther along, like in graduate school. I think those things would have been excellent, although I got there eventually, so I don't have any regrets about the path I took.
What's a favorite way for you to spend your free time?
Well, I hesitate to say that I enjoy running. I don't enjoy running, but I do run, and that's one of the things that I do in my spare time. I also love to hike, and don't do that as often as I would like. I like to go to the beach, and the weather here is beautiful for that over the summertime here in the Boston area. So those are a few things that I like to do in my spare time.
What's something that frustrates you about your field?
Well, yeah. Well, one of the things that frustrates me, I guess, is what I perceive by some to be the reticence to take a more transparent and open approach to doing science. I would love if the field more broadly would adapt the need to make data open and to make code open and to basically be transparent in writing up manuscripts. I think we're getting there. I do see a lot of progress along those lines, but it's slow. So
What's something that you get very picky about, like a pet peeve?
Oh, I have many. I have many pet peeves. Um, this is the one that will be okay. I have many, but the one I will tell you is one that will be sort of inexplicable. I really dislike molten chocolate lava cake, and in the United States, at least, there are commercials for restaurants like Domino's comes to mind. It's a pizza place where they do pizza for delivery, but they also offer things like some kinds of desserts. And they have these ads where they show this melty chocolate stuff coming out of what would otherwise be perfectly good chocolate cake. And I dislike that intensely.
Name a song that describes your career so far.
Well, I love this. I actually love that I don't know these questions in advance because I'm just going off of what comes to mind. And the first thing that came to mind was a song that's actually a little old at this point. It's called it's "I Get Knocked Down" by Chumbawamba, and I'm not going to sing it for you. I'm sorry. You'll have to look it up.
But then you get back up again. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Do you have a book, movie, or a TV show that you particularly recommend?
Oh gosh, I have so many. Okay, my all-time favorite TV shows produced in the U.S. are as follows. The Wire, which was a show on, I think, HBO for many years. So great. I've watched it all the way through a couple of times. I will do it again, I'm sure. I can also highly recommend Breaking Bad, one of the best television shows ever made, along with The Wire. Let's see, about reading. Well, what am I reading right now? I really love, oh, I recommend checking out books by an author named Ruth Ozeki. I loved her book called A Tale for the Time Being. It's amazing. I won't even try to describe it, but it's amazing. It's a great.
Who's someone famous that you've met or saw?
Well, I guess I haven't met or saw many famous people. Okay, the thing that came to mind, which is really wild that it came to mind, because it was from years ago when I was in high school, I loved a band called The Cure. They're not really producing stuff now, but they were this great alternative band, and I saw them in concert with my friends. And after the concert, we sort of stalked where they would be leaving, and we followed their. This just sounds really creepy, but we followed their van or whatever they were driving to a hotel bar where we actually got to bump into them and shared drinks, although for us, being 15, 16, whatever we were, it was Perrier, and that was rather embarrassing, but we felt pretty fancy drinking our Perrier with Robert Smith from The Cure.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. What's a well-established finding in psychology that you think more people should know about?
Well, it's when you have a hammer, all you see are nails. And so my hammer is the study of emotion regulation. And so I guess I would say people might not broadly realize that there's some pretty good scientific evidence that there are things that we can do to regulate or manage our emotions. We don't have to hold sway to our emotions, at least not all the time. And I wouldn't also say that we always have to regulate our emotions, but it's pretty well established in psychology that thinking differently about situations that you face or the emotional response that you're having can actually reduce, in particular, negative emotions. And that can be helpful sometimes.
Do you teach, and what do you teach?
I do teach. Right now I'm teaching a graduate course, a core course in emotion and psychopathology, and I'm co-teaching that with Lisa Shin, my colleague here at Tufts. For many years, I taught our undergraduate course in research methods called experimental psychology. And I've also taught a couple of seminars that are more specialized in nature, one in affective neuroscience and one in emotion, stress, and health. And next semester, I'll be teaching a large undergraduate course on emotion. And I'm looking forward to that. It's been several years since I've taught that class.
How big are these classes that you teach?
They vary. So the seminars tend to be on the smaller side. I think right now we have 6 students in our graduate seminar. And the biggest class I have taught was experimental psychology, which is capped at 120 students. And there's 5 different sections for lab. So that's pretty big with 5 teaching assistants as well, grad teaching assistants.
Who's somebody that you consider your role model?
Oh, I can tell you immediately and without hesitation that I consider James Gross at Stanford University one of my role models. He's an amazing human, does fantastic work, and has helped me in just innumerable ways as I tried to figure out this academic path that I've been on now for many years. So thank you to James for that. Can I tell a brief story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I in grad school I didn't know what I wanted to study, or I didn't know like what my research area needed to be, and I actually bopped around a little bit before I figured out that working with John Allen was going to be the right fit for me. And I told John at one point I read one of James's articles, and I was like, "This is it. This is what I want to do." And I actually physically took this journal. It was back when they just existed in paper, and I physically took it to John's office, and I said, "This is what I want to study." And he was very enthusiastic and helped me connect with James. And James then ultimately came and visited. We had lots of conversations about the work. He was just super supportive and always interested in both my well-being as a person trying to do science, but also the well-being of the field. And he seemed to like navigate that super well. So thanks for letting me tell that story. It's really great.
What was your first publication about?
If I recall correctly, one of the first papers I was an author on was a paper that was first authored actually by John Allen, and it was a study looking at the stability of frontal EEG asymmetry, which was of interest because of its putative signs of helping us understand who might end up becoming depressed. And that was one of the first times that I really started to appreciate the importance of reliability. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question. Okay.
And do you remember the one that you were like a first author on, or?
The first, well, yeah. So actually, I didn't have a first authored paper until it was a paper that on a project that I was involved in at University of Wisconsin as a postdoc. It actually didn't come out until I started here at Tufts, and it was a paper that published in 2005 in the Journal of Neuroscience. It was the first paper that I wrote using functional magnetic resonance imaging, which was something that I was learning as a postdoc, and got to do that work and publish it with Corinne Van Riekum and Tom Johnstone and others in Richie Davidson's lab. And yeah, it was really a fantastic project to be involved in. I just learned so much in doing that work.
What's a bit of advice you might have for living a good life?
Oh, well, I'd say, I guess there's many ways that you can accomplish that goal. I think I would say follow the things that you most want to spend your time doing. But in terms of work, don't make that be your entire life. Find a nice balance between fun at work and fun at home and fun with the people that you love.
What's your favorite city in the world?
Well, I would love to go many more places in the world. I would say right now it's maybe, I've only really spent time in the United States. I've been to Australia once, and I've been to Europe. So there's many places in the world that are in the running, but I've never been, so I won't address those. But of the places I've been, I would say that there's a tie maybe between Amsterdam and London. They were both wonderful places, I think, for very different reasons, and I enjoyed my time in both.
What was a course you took as an undergraduate that was especially enjoyable or memorable?
Oh, yeah. Well, funny, the memorable part, I don't actually remember much of any of my classes that I took as an undergrad, but the class that immediately came to mind was a course entitled Paranormal Anthropology. And it was a really interesting class, and not surprisingly, in the anthropology department, but I loved it because it was really sort of focused on debunking in some ways belief in paranormal activity, but it wasn't a debunking class entirely. It was more like just trying to understand really why are humans so willing to believe in paranormal experiences. And I thought that was fascinating.
And finally, what do you hope to be doing 10 years from now?
Well, I hope I'm not the department chair. I'll just tell you that right now. I don't know otherwise what I hope to be doing. I hope that I'll still be healthy and well enough to be doing what I'm doing here at Tufts. It's been a great place for me. I don't know. I hope I'm also not, I think generally speaking, I hope I'm not an administrator of some kind. Sometimes I feel like maybe that's a path that some people expect, but it's just it's not what I want to be doing. I would like to still be able to be doing research, working with early career researchers, trying to understand this thing called emotion regulation, and that's what I hope I'm doing in 10 years.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Sure.